Hello again, welcome back to part 2. So now I've actually logged in and clicked on the homework. I started with section 1.2. As you look at this screen, you'll notice I started on question 2. I'm going to go back to question 1. You'll notice that as you work through these questions, when you hit submit answer, it'll save it automatically. But I always recommend, just in case you get up and walk away from your laptop, quick save, just in case something happens, laptop runs out of battery or something like that. It'll save it for you as you go. So it saves it question by question. You don't have a limited amount of time. You can have an unlimited amount of time to do these homework sections up until the due date, of course. And then it'll keep track of how many you've done and what percentage complete you are in the upper right here. So when you click on a homework chapter, say you want to start with chapter 1, you click on chapter 1, you start with section 1.2, and then it'll give you all the questions. Usually each section, like section 1.2, has 15 questions. There may be some sections with less, there may be some sections with more, just depends how much there is to cover. But typipally expect anywhere from like 10 to 20 questions per section, some even less than 10. Again, I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want to give you enough examples so that you can be confident that you understand the concepts and how to apply them. But again, if you need more practice, don't just do these 15 questions and say, oh, I got it. If you want some extra practice, go ahead and look into the textbook and do a couple of the problems from the textbook. And then, of course, you have the solutions manual. You can check your answers and check your work. So you can always be doing extra practice. There's also the practice quizzes, practice tests that aren't for a grade. You do not have to do them for a grade, but poke around in them, do a couple questions just for extra practice. But again, anything that's homework, that's the only thing that you're responsible for. So after you watch the video lectures, after you thumb through the textbook, and you want to start getting some problems done, because this counts towards your grade, click on this homework. And again, try and do it in order. Try not to jump around too much, because the book is designed very well so that it progresses very nicely. And if you skip sections, you may find yourself going backwards if you miss a concept. And that always feels hard in math, because you don't want to go backwards in math. You want to progress. So try and start with the sections and try and do the sections in order. It usually just helps you progress a little bit faster. It's better to go at a slow and steady pace than to jump ahead and try and get something done and then have to jump back and try and get something done that you missed. So just advice. So you notice question 1, I've already answered it. It says determine the place value of the digit 5 in this whole number, 285. So it's in the ones place. And again, if you watch the video, she breaks down the different place values. So like I said, try and take notes while you're watching the section videos, because then you can just refer to your notes to figure out which place value the digit 5 is sitting in. So after you're all said and done with that and you click on your answer, you'll notice this one's multiple choice. They're not all multiple choice. Some of them are fill in the blank. But this one's multiple choice. So click on the choice you like, and then down here it will say submit answer. But I've already tried this question and got it right, but maybe I'm not so confident. Maybe I want to try it again. I can click similar question, and it'll give me a new question. See, the number changes to 151 now. So now it says determine the place value of the digit 5 in this whole number. Now the digit 5 is no longer in the ones place. It's actually in the tens place. But if I get it wrong, maybe I guess the hundreds place, I hit check answer. Sometimes it'll give me a little feedback and say, sorry, that's not correct. And then I'll say, well, I was right before when I said ones place. Let me try ones place again. You'll notice it says final check. So it gives you one attempt to get it wrong, and then a second attempt. And then it will say, sorry, your answer is not correct. And then it'll tell you the correct answer. So this will tell you that you've already answered the question. But for this attempt, you got 0 points. Then you usually have a choice of saying save this attempt, which will give you the 0 points, or save the best score. So even if you've already successfully completed the question, you can still save that best score. If I save this attempt, you'll notice that it goes back to marking it wrong. So I saved my recent attempt, which was wrong. But again, down here it says similar question. So even as I'm getting them wrong, I can keep hitting similar question and then refer to my notes or rewatch the video, or check and see what's going on with, there's some sort of disconnect here. So when it says determine the place value of the digit 5 in the whole number, again, it'll change the number. It'll randomize it. So you and someone else in the class might not be getting the same numbers because they kind of pop up at random. They're the same type of question, but they randomize things like the numbers and stuff like that. So now I'm looking at them saying, okay, the 5 is in the ones place again. I'm confident about that. I hit check answer. It says, you know, well done, and then it moves on. You can click on next question, and then you move on to the next question. You'll notice the first couple of questions are easier. The later questions kind of build, maybe the numbers get a little bigger, or the concepts build on the previous concepts. So as you're going through these, there'll be a spot where the questions get a little more difficult. So if the first couple feel really easy, don't worry about it. They get a little more challenging. If the first couple are a little challenging, then that's when you want to go back and rewatch the video and say, okay, what did I miss? I have some students that just go into the homework and just start clicking away trying to find an answer. So don't skip the video. Go watch the video first. Again, their videos aren't that long. They're like 16 minutes. Some are shorter, some are longer. But they're pretty quick to get through. And again, you can watch them at your leisure. And then after you watch the video and you think you've got the concepts, you can go in and try a couple of questions. I'm going to skip around a little bit. These are multiple choice. Not all of them will be multiple choice. But as you go through and look at some different questions, some different questions will have like a fill in the blank. Here you go. So this is more of like a fill in the blank style. With the fill in the blank style, you may have to use some symbols like plus, minus, multiply, divide. More than that, you'll notice there's like a legend that pops up that you can use if you need them. So say you want to put in a fraction, you can click on this fraction thing. So it's really neat. You know, just again, play around with it. Or if you have any questions, email me and I can tell you how to input your answer. But for this part, it says write the number in standard form. So in order to write this number in standard form, I want 5,477. So if I write that number in standard form, I click on this little box, and I would type in 5,477. So if I think I'm confident with that, I can go to check answer, and it says nice work. It takes you to the next question. Again, it automatically saves the previous question. You go to the next question. This one says write the whole number in standard form. So again, I have to input the number. And it says I want 174,203. So 174,000. Now this time I'm going to put a comma in 203. And if I hit check answer, it still understands it with or without the comma. But sometimes it can be picky, so be careful. Sometimes it'll give you special instructions like do not use a comma or something like that. Make sure you're obeying those special instructions. One of the key things is capital X versus lowercase x. MyMathLab sees those as two completely different things. So typically throughout this entire course, everything's going to be lowercase variables. That means letters. So all your X, Y, Z's, they'll all be lowercase. So sometimes students will email me and say, hey, I put in the right answer, but it's marking it wrong. It's because maybe your caps lock is on or something like that. So don't get frustrated. Just email me. And one of the nice things you can do to email me is right over here, there's a question help. So rather than have to pull up your separate email, if you click on question help, there's a bunch of tools in here. And again, there's the textbook. That'll take you directly to that section of the textbook. There's Ask My Instructor. If you click on that, it automatically opens up an email, and it will send me an email through MyMathLab, which will be connected to my email. My email is already plugged into here. So it sends me a direct email to my SCF email. It tells me exactly what problem you're working on, from which section, from which chapter, and then all you have to do is just type in and say, hey, I thought I put in the right answer, but it's marking me wrong here. So it sends me an email and lets me know where you're at. Other things that are very, very helpful are things like help me solve this or view an example. So these are really nice because if you get stuck on a problem and you've already watched the video, or maybe you don't want to go back and watch the whole 16-minute video, maybe it's just this last problem in your homework set and you just want to get this problem done, you can use one of these two options. Now they're different but also sort of the same. Help me solve this will solve this exact problem, and then when you're done walking through that, it actually walks you through this whole problem step by step by step. And then when you're done with that, it changes this problem and says, okay, now you try this with some different numbers. Versus view an example. View an example shows you a similar problem to yours, walks you through it step by step, and then says, okay, now go back to your problem. And it doesn't change your problem because it showed you a different problem. and now lets you attempt yours on your own. So again, help me solve this solves this exact problem, but then gives you a different one. View an example gives you a different problem, and then lets you go back and solve this specific one. So, just depending on your style, it's nice to have both. Sometimes one's better than the other. Sometimes they're both good. But never are they not helpful at all. They've always been helpful to students at least at some point. So I want to make sure you guys see these. So say I'm working through this problem here, and it says write the whole number in the following sentence in standard form. The height of a building is 1,010 feet. So 1,010 feet. 1,010 is the number that is in that sentence that I need to write in this box. But again, this will really break it down. So if I click help me solve this, it will solve this exact problem with the exact same number, 1,010 feet. Now you notice it breaks it down into 6 parts. So it really breaks it down for you. It breaks it down part by part by part. It shows you the ones place. It shows you, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, etc., etc., etc. So it really breaks it down and shows you all the concept stuff from the video, just kind of written out. And usually there's like a picture to go along with it. There's lots of explaining to go along with it. And as you click through and hit continue, it'll start to slowly build the concept, and it'll ask you questions like, what is the number in the thousands period? So in the thousands period, I'm looking for this column here. So notice the digits, they always start at the ones place. Next one is the tens, the hundreds, and the one on the fourth is the thousands. Now, again, my number was 1,000, so it could be sometimes easy, sometimes a little trickier than this. But if you type in the number 1 and hit check answer, it'll say fantastic. You know which number is in the thousand place. And sometimes you don't even need to walk through the whole help me solve this. Say at this point I'm like, you know what, now I remember, now I get it. I don't have to work through this whole thing. You can just close this tab down, but watch what happens to your problem. The 1,010 feet, if I close this, now it changes that to 2,070 feet. So it won't work your problem for you and then say that's the number you put in. It'll work your problem for you and then say, okay, now try a different problem. So it's not going to give you, it's not a gimme. You're going to have to still work the problem through on your own. So again, I look at this, but I say, you know what, that was helpful. I remember the concept. The other version was the view an example. Now, view an example keeps this problem. You will see these numbers stay because when you hit view an example, it uses different numbers, 3,090 feet. That's different from my problem. So if I go through this and think, okay, maybe this was helpful, this was view an example, it'll let me go back to my same problem. If I close this or I'm done with this, I hit close, this 2,070 feet should stay the same, and indeed it does, 2,070 feet. So you've got the two options there, 2,070 feet, and I say check answer, fantastic, done. As soon as I go on to the next question, it saves my work, and I can keep working. So that's just a kind of a style of the course, and of course as it goes on, you'll come across different things. Sometimes they'll just ask you to add fractions. Sometimes there will be word problems. So some problems may be a little more involved. The first part of this course is it may be a little easy for some, but it's laying a solid foundation. So again, work through it. It'll get a little trickier as things go on. If the first parts of the course are tricky, don't be afraid to ask questions. It should never be hard. Math is challenging, which is good, but it shouldn't be to the point of difficulty where you're banging your head against the wall. Don't do that. That's what I'm here for. That's when you email me and say, hey, I tried this question 3 times. I watched the video twice. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going wrong. Can you help me? And then I can guide you through it. So again, everything in the homework tab is what you need to worry about. Nothing else. As long as you're doing everything under the homework tab, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's the chunk of your grade that's worth 40%. And then, of course, like I said, don't be afraid to email me. So please, please, please send me an email if you need help, and I will guide you through it. Hopefully these videos help you get started in the course. Usually, after the first week or so, usually by the second week, everyone's settled in and things are going pretty smoothly. But again, if you just have any questions, please email me, and I'll guide you as to where you should be going, what you should be doing, and any other questions that you may have. So. Welcome to the course. I hope you have a great semester, and good luck and have fun.